what I always do when I hit a problem that I don't know what to do with, my first thought is, who can I help? And that it has been a through line, again, of my life, of when you live in service and you truly live in service, and it's not just window dressing, right? Good things always happen.
From the Florida Parent Educators Association, home of the largest homeschool convention in America, this is the Not by the Book podcast. I'm your host, FPEA Chairman Suzanne Nunn, and together we will hear from guests who share their journey to who and where they are today. Each one of them at some point left the expected path, ripped the page out of the book that says you have to do it like this, and made their own way. I hope these conversations inspire you as much as they do me. Today I have a great conversation with Ed Goyette, life skills expert, entrepreneur, author, and co-founder of Major Choice, a company whose mission is to inspire students to dive deep to determine the career and educational path that best aligns with who they are. But getting to Major Choice was a journey for Ed from the time he was a young student himself. We talk about his own educational path, career plans, and pivotal moments that shaped his life. I know that you will enjoy hearing his story as much as I did. Let's listen now.
Grew up in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And I was the third of three kids. I have two older sisters. And the age difference is interesting because my oldest sister is 8 years older than me, and my middle child is 4 years. My other sister is 4 years older than me. I was the third child who could get away with a little bit more and be more curious. I was always a curious kid. So I was always the kid who was thinking outside of the box, very super curious, always inventing things, always making up new games. We lived next to a park, which was a huge blessing for us. So we had, tennis courts and baseball diamonds and just tons of opportunities to go out and explore. I was outside a lot. And
that's great. You can get so much imagination.
Oh yeah,
moving when you're outside and exploring.
Absolutely. Weeks for me were weekends because we went to school during the week, but weekends. Saturday was sports, usually like baseball or tennis. I was a huge tennis player. Would spend hours and hours and hours on the court. But Sundays was, church in the morning, and then every Sunday we would go over to my grandparents' house.
Yeah.
So it was very, very family oriented, and it was just a great feeling of grounding. So for as much as I was that kid who was always into everything and all over the place, right? I knew that I had that, looking back, I had that stability of family and church and that consistency.
Yeah.
So I was very blessed that I had both sides of the coin.
That's phenomenal. And I think it just gives us a richer background and just grounding of who we are when we're able to live around extended family and spend time with other generations of our family. So that's a really neat component to have, as a part of who you are as you're developing that identity as a young child, I think. So you were interested in sports. Did anything else jump out at you in your elementary, middle school years that you were super involved with or interested in?
I would say, honestly, tennis was my obsession.
It's a good
back
one.
Then. It was because we live right, like I said, down the street from a tennis court, and I was on the court at 7 in the morning, 6 in the morning, hitting service by myself. From the time I was a young kid until 12, that was really what I was into. Other than that, it was being outside and inventing things and making up. Looking back, I made up little businesses here and there, like kids do. It was a kind of a foreshadowing of my life, I guess.
Inventing is fun. I think, as we were younger, we used to have to invent things. Like we had to put things together to play with. We didn't just go order something on Amazon and have it show up in a couple of days. What types of interesting things did you invent? Anything stick out in your mind?
This is funny. This is a story that we found my friends and I went on an adventure one day, and we found an abandoned shopping cart.
Mm.
And when you're 8 years, 9 years old,
Yeah,
like that is gold.
it
You don't
is.
get better than an abandoned shopping cart, you know. And we brought it home, brought it to my yard, and we started taking it apart, and we decided that it would be a great idea to start a business of giving rides
Mhm.
to the neighborhood kids in the shopping cart. So we got, and when I think about it, the opportunity for tetanus at this, I mean, I could call it a tetanus cart with all the rusty nails and everything that
Oh,
we put this
wow.
thing together with, but we made this god awful thing, and we were charging kids, 10 cents and 25 cents. So it was very, very funny looking back on that story. We had kids from other neighborhoods coming in to our neighborhood with a quarter so we could pull them up and down my street
That's
um,
amazing.
in this tetanus-ridden golf cart.
The things we survived, right, as kids
Absolutely. Made us stronger.
made us stronger. So, you played tennis did you play into high school as well, or did you find some other
Well,
things?
interestingly enough, that's kind of where the school system started to fray for me.
Mm,
Actually, not so much elementary school, but middle school and high school.
mm,
The structure of it and the black and whiteness of it, of the this or that, right? Either you're good enough or you're not. There was no really room for gray,
yeah.
and that's when my motivation in school started waning,
Mm,
and it became very demotivating for me, and to the point where, in the tennis team, that is one of the things I look back on, that I we had a coaching system there that was very demotivating
mm,
and didn't really value everybody on the team equally, and it
yeah.
was you're in or you're out. That's where I gave up tennis, to be honest.
That's
Gave up tennis.
unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's again, I look back on it and I go, it's unfortunate, and but also very interesting to me, and very telling of where we are.
Mhm.
A lot of
Actually, true.
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that a lot of students experience that shift between middle and high school
Mhm.
too. I think that there is, you know, moments maybe for a lot of students who some of their passions and dreams get kind of squashed at that point. It's like
Mhm.
it's you're good enough or you're not good enough, and it's just kind of a, like you said, very black and white
Yeah,
space.
and
And
especially during that day and age,
mhm,
like, it was the late '70s,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, late '70s, early '80s, and, I think we are in a different spot with a lot of educators that I talk to today,
mm,
honestly. I see a shift in some ways. I deal a lot with people at the high school level, and I think
yeah,
the people who are showing up for the kids, by and large, are very heart centered. And the ones that I interact with, I couldn't say enough about the dedication that they have. I think the system is challenging.
yeah,
You know,
definitely. So then, what directions did you find yourself pursuing in high school at that point? Tennis was
it
off the
was
table.
yeah, it was creativity. It was trying to do the least amount of work in high school that I could.
That was
It
a good
was it
club.
was Yeah, there's a well, I mean, we add it all up, like, 3rd kid always tried to get away with things,
Exactly.
I was always looking for a better and more efficient way, let's put it that way. My passion really turned to cars. After that, I got my first car, 16, 15 and a half, 16 years old. I bought a big old 1969 Galaxy 500 convertible,
Oh, wow. That's
and
fantastic.
my friends and I were just very into cars, taking things apart, rebuilding engines, doing all those things. So that became a through line to my life, actually. It's right now I have a '68 Galaxy 500 convertible.
That's great. That is
So
great.
I did the buy your first car thing, that a lot of guys my age do. So
Yeah. So what else was happening? At that point, you were very into cars. Did you find that you were involved with anything else from like an entrepreneurial perspective? Were you beginning to think business minded at that point, or were you still just working through your creativity?
At that point, I was doing a lot of writing.
Mm.
I loved, rewriting lyrics to songs. I loved writing poetry. I loved writing short stories that I showed nobody.
Yeah.
Reams of things that I look back on now. I'm like, well, that's not that bad. It's for 16 years old. But yeah, I think my creativity really started to take hold then.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't thinking entrepreneur. My family, my dad worked for Raytheon for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
My mom worked for Jordan Marsh, which became Macy's.
Yeah.
And I was very much, my parents growing up, being affected by the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm.
It was get a job, hold on to it for dear life, and get the stable paycheck. So that was pounded into me from minute one. I was very much focused on, okay, what's a good career for me? So the creativity stuff and that always to me was just something that I did.
Yeah.
That was just a little quirky thing about me that I do that for me. I don't know why I do it, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I was looking for a quote real job. Yeah. So during high school, it was really just about connecting with my friends. I had my girlfriend, very, very kind of standard issue 80s high school experience.
That was a good issue.
Yeah.
It was a good issue. So where did that leave you then when you started thinking about graduating from high school and what your career path would look like with, kind of what had been hammered in? So what were you thinking?
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, I was making the classic mistake that high school kids even today make, is I was looking at my very limited field of influences, and I was saying, okay, well, they like that, so I like them, so I should probably like that. And my sister was going to the University of Lowell for computer science and programming. And the other side of my brain is very analytical. And I thought, wow, you can make a lot of money being a computer programmer. Maybe I should go to Lowell for computer programming. I applied to one school, and that was the University of Lowell.
Yeah.
And my parents were, they hadn't gone to college, and they said, well, that's what you do. You find a school that you can get into, and you go there because they accepted you. And so I applied to Lowell. I got in, and my first year was, exploring computer science, and it was the absolute worst thing I could have done.
Oh, no.
It was not aligned with who I was, what I valued, what I could do for 8 or 10 hours a day. It was a disaster.
So how long did it take you to figure that out?
2 classes.
2 classes. Well, that was at least, hey, that's better than some. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than that. You knew now that computer science wasn't the thing. Were you thinking there's something better, there's something else, or were you still just kind of figuring it out?
Yeah, I was a little bit, it's first, second year, and it's, because I had to do my prerequisites and all that stuff, the liberal arts things that you do. So I think that puts me end of sophomore year. And, when you start doing your real major, and I was a bit adrift, and I thought, well, maybe the creativity thing, maybe. So I started looking into the writing courses, and then you go through that period where you're like, well, hold it. Am I going to get a job as a writer? I'm not that good. You go through the periods of self-doubt, and I lived what a lot of students go through,
right.
is that real tumultuous time when you're trying to find your way in the world and try to find who you are. And at the same time, you're living this in real time.
Yeah.
And time is running out until graduation, right? Well, actually, I'm going to back up a little bit. I got to back up a little bit.
Okay.
A little bit further, because I got to back up to my grandmother, because she planted a seed in me back when I was 16 that didn't take hold until this moment I'm about to tell you about. So we'll go back to the Galaxy 500 convertible.
Okay. Sounds good.
When you have an old convertible in an 18-foot long old convertible in New England, you have to find a place to put it for the winter.
Right.
You can't just leave those things out. So my grandfather had passed, and they had this old garage, and it was like this classic old garage that you see in them. right, with all the old tools and whatnot. And my grandmother was like, and she was getting on in years too. Some dementia was setting in a little bit, and the family decided I could put my car in this garage.
Mm.
And after school, I would walk from school to my grandmother's house, and I would work on this car.
Yeah.
Not knowing what I was doing at that point, but I was learning, and that gave me the opportunity to have these wonderful conversations with my grandmother.
Mm.
And I cherish that to this day. And so I would work on the car till I was freezing because it was February and the thing didn't have any heat. And then I would go back in and we would sit down and I'd have a cup of coffee or tea with her. And one day she was reminiscing. So she grew up during the Great Depression. She was a shoemaker
Mm.
in the mills in Lowell, Massachusetts. And we actually found some of her tools after she passed. It was amazing. We had all the old tools, all the foundational things. And one day she looked at me and we were talking about something, and she looked at me and she was like, I got to tell you something. And I was like, what, Grandma? And she said, when I was 15 years old, working in the boot mills, the head one came onto the floor one day. And he walked right over to me and he said, Mary, I want to talk to you in my office. And I went into his office and I thought I was in trouble. And he sat me down and he said, you are one of my best workers. You show up every day. You always do your work really well. And I'm going to give you a 10-cent raise instead of the 5-cent raise that I'm giving everybody else. But that's going to be our secret because you can't tell anybody. But I just want to let you know how much I value you. And she went on probably for about 5 or 10 minutes saying how much it meant to her that the head one, she kept saying, the head one brought me down here and did that. It struck me that here she was toward the end of her life. And here was this supervisor, right, was in charge of this mill, and the impact that his words had on her at that moment. And at that moment, I thought, being the head one's probably a good idea. I was always very giving and caring, and I want to help the world. From minute one, I want to help the world. I think that's why I was put here, is to help people.
Yeah. And
that was a conversation that, looking back, I tucked that away as a seed. And that really is what started my entrepreneurial journey. Is that moment when I was 16 years old. It just floored me that 60-something years later, that was a core memory.
Yeah. So important to her. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you fast forward, now you fast forward a few years later, and I'm in college, and I'm floundering a little bit. I don't know what I'm going to do. My cousin calls me one night, and he's like, "Hey," and I love my cousin Gary, love the guy, right? And he was a cool cousin I didn't see enough.
Yeah.
You have that family that you don't see enough, right. And then when you get together, it's a great time. And he was in college; he was a year ahead of me, and he said, "Hey, there's a guy up here in Keene State, and he's pressure washing houses, and he's making $300 a house on the weekends, and you should see his stereo." And he's telling me all the things that this kid has. And he's like, "Put on a pot of coffee. I'm coming over." So I'm like, "Okay." So he came over, and we founded a company right there called Octo Cleaners, which turned into Octo Enterprises at one point. We had a big octopus on the side of our trucks. But when I was in college, I set up my first business.
Okay.
And we would go around. We would clean houses. I can't do anything small. So by the time that company ended, we were doing 7-story buildings, like university buildings. We were doing all kinds of commercial contracts.
That's incredible. Yeah.
2 trucks and 7 people, and all the while, like, in college at the same time. And through that, there was a professor, Professor Rudy Winston, who ran an entrepreneurship course. And I thought, well, I guess I'm going to be an entrepreneur, so I might as well take this course.
Okay.
And he was life-changing. He was absolutely life-changing. One of my regrets is that I never was able to find him before he passed away to tell him what an impact he made on my life.
Well, that's great. That's crazy.
He taught me to think differently. He was a professor that had a very big outside life.
Okay.
In the entrepreneurship, and I was blessed that he was able to share that specifically with me,
Mm-hmm.
in a deeper way than with the class. I was not a great college student because I was splitting my time between finals, and like you have an economics final, but you also have
A business
a
to run.
shopping mall to clean that weekend, and you have you're managing invoices, and you're managing homeowners, and you're managing all this stuff. So
All of the
that was
stuff.
my college experience.
So how long did that business last for you?
So that business lasted about 3 years,
Okay.
and it literally went down in a ball of flames.
Okay.
We had one of those big box trucks,
Mm-hmm.
and we were outside. My cousin and I were outside of a mall one night, and what I didn't know is that and this was a God intervention moment, if there ever was one.
Mm-hmm.
We had a pressure washer, has a like a lawnmower engine on it, basically.
Right.
And I was outside the truck, and it ran out of gas, so my cousin hopped in the back of the truck to fill it up, like we had done hundreds of times. And I heard the engine kick back up, and I hit the pressure washer valve wand, and the truck exploded with
That's
him in it.
with him in it.
With him in it. And what we found out later was, and he was fine
Mm-hmm.
comparatively, but what we found out later was that there was a fuel valve that had failed, and it
Mm.
was just dumping tons of kerosene into this burner.
Oh, wow.
When I hit the wand, probably a gallon or two of kerosene just exploded in this thing.
Mm.
And what saved him was, inexplicably, he removed the gas cap of this engine, and he threw it behind him into a tangle of hoses.
Hmm.
When every other time we would just put it on top of the burner,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So if he had done what he had done every single time for 3 years, he would have been standing up, and the explosion would have killed him.
Wow.
But at that time, he was bending over to pick up this gas cap.
Mm.
And the only thing up above where the explosion kind of happened and went out was his hand, which he got third-degree burns on.
Wow. That is a
So
crazy
stop doing
story.
that.
Literally
Stop.
went up in flames.
Yep.
That's insane. So then you guys moved on to thinking about what you were going to do next, right? So,
Yep. That was a big moment.
mhm.
That was a big moment.
And it wasn't going to be in pressure washing.
It wasn't going to be in pressure washing. That went away. I moved on. He went on to an engineering job,
Hmm.
and I floundered a little bit.
Yeah.
I had been pouring everything I had into this pressure washing, and again, my college career wasn't. I ended up with a degree in marketing.
Hmm.
It was a shift because I thought we're going to build this company to be a huge company, and I had the
Right.
roadmap, I had everything in my head. So that really was, the rug pulled out beneath me. I did what most people do. I'm like, okay, who is hiring?
Yeah.
And I went through a string of ridiculous jobs. I sold uniforms door to door. I was a telemarketer for antifreeze, CO detectors, and something else. Like these companies that just, I was telemarketing, doors and windows for a bit, for what I found out to be a shady company, so I had to leave there. And then I actually ended up in a company called Spinnaker Software
Okay.
back in the 90s, as their trade show manager.
Mm.
And I was very blessed to get that job down in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And I got to travel all over the country and do trade shows.
Well, that sounds like fun. We enjoy those kinds of trade shows around here.
Mhm.
We have large ones. But yeah, so if that probably wasn't where you landed though for good, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, you started pondering coffee.
Yeah, so interesting story again. There was a guy in college that I knew, and we hit it off, and I thought he was very smart, and he thought I was very smart. So I always knew I was going to get back to the entrepreneur thing.
Right.
We started exploring different businesses to start, and it wasn't, coffee wasn't the first start of what we did. We were looking at all kinds of different businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, I was in a coffee shop called the Coffee Kingdom out in Worcester, Massachusetts, with my now wife,
Mm-hmm.
then girlfriend, and we were sitting there having a cappuccino, reading the paper, and that's dated, right? Sitting there reading the paper.
The thing
But
you used to do.
yeah, so we were sitting there, and I looked around, and I said, "Well, hold it! Like, there's a counter, and there's a groovy guy behind the counter. There's some board games. Like, I think I can." The worst way to start a business, right? The worst way. I just made it the most simple thing that you could do. Like, starting a food service business. How easy is that? I was like, "I think I can do this." And she's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Why don't we open a coffee house?" And she's like, "Well, that sounds like fun." And again, right? How naive. I called my partner and I said, "I think I got a business. Let's open a coffee house."
Hmm.
And we started looking all over Boston for locations. At the same time, there was a big shift in Spinnaker software. We were merged with two other companies.
Mm.
And let's say that didn't go well for Ed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a side story. I was actually Kevin O'Leary from Shark
Yeah.
Tank. I don't know if you watched it. Yeah. So his company was one of the ones that merged
Mm.
with mine. I was let go by Kevin O'Leary.
That's awesome. Well, that's a good part of your story right there.
Yeah, it's like a little backstory. But we ended up finding a location literally one less than a block over from where I was working in
That's
Spinnaker.
great. Yeah.
And we opened a coffee house.
So how did that go for you as far as the next move? Were you also probably starting a life and a family at this point now?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
We had, well, I got married let's see here. I got married within a year
Mm-hmm.
of opening the store. We had a lot going on that time. But yeah, so we opened up the store and it just went instant success.
That's fun. That's great.
We were seeing about 1,000 people a day.
Wow.
Um,
In Boston.
and that's through Cambridge, Mass, and through 740 square feet. So it was a very, very small space, and we predated Starbucks down there. So we were the only real decent coffee and sandwich for blocks at that time. It's much different now down in Cambridge.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a runaway success right off the bat.
That's great. How long were you there?
We were there until 2019.
Okay.
So we were there 26 years.
That's great. Did you expand to other locations or anything like that?
We did. We expanded to another location down the street in Kendall Square.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, I bought my partner out, which was, when partnerships break up, they're not always the easiest things to navigate. So that added a couple gray hairs to my head. And we ended up at one point, so down the street in Cambridge, we ended up selling that one, and I opened up a store 10 minutes from my house in 2006.
That's great. And so you were an award-winning coffee house. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the store in Cambridge was very transactional because they're office workers, right? So there really wasn't a sense the ability to build community down there in a real sense, right? The decision I made with my Hampstead store was that this was going to be a community service organization wrapped in a coffee house.
Okay.
And what we did when I opened the store, and again, our store is on the wrong side of the street in the middle of the woods. Like it's. I look at the location now. I'm like, what was I thinking? Jeez, this is sheer will that this is a success. And but I made the decision: if you're going to do anything of substance, you have to build community.
Right.
You have to, right? You that is the only true in my worldview, the only true authentic way to have a successful business is if you're bringing people to a higher plane.
Yeah.
Right. So what I did, we took out a loan. I had $10,000 from my marketing budget, and I made the decision to donate every penny of it, which I failed by $97 because I needed to run an ad to get some employees.
Yeah.
But what I did was I I contacted every community service organization in my area, churches, soup kitchens, the Lions Club, all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And we were still a dirt floor. And I said, hey, listen, we're opening this coffee house. We want to partner with you. We're here to support you. Like, what can we do?
Mm.
And I set up a table on my dirt floor, and we would have all these people in, and I would ask them if they were doing fundraisers, and big surprise, every single one of them was.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And I would just, depending on their need and what we had, I would write them a check.
Hmm.
And that really set the tone for the store is doing well today.
Right.
Really set the tone for who we were and what we valued.
Is that the one that was the best coffee house in America?
Yeah, best coffee. That was actually the question, right? So that's how we won the best coffee house in America.
That
So
was
we
it.
were on the Steve Harvey show. We were named best coffee house in America for community service.
That's
So
phenomenal.
if you want to see my I don't know what it is, a minute, 27 seconds of fame. They flew me out to Chicago, and I get to be on the show, and
That's fun.
that was really a great experience. That was a great experience. So
You said you ended in 2019.
that was down in Cambridge.
Okay, in
right?
Cambridge. So what happens during the pandemic season, because you had the other store still?
Yeah. So right before the pandemic, the landlord of the Cambridge store,
Mhm.
right, 6 months before the pandemic hit, the landlord of the Cambridge store showed up one day and said that they wanted the space back after 26 years.
That's crazy.
And there's a long and involved story that happened before that. We had a fire. The store had been destroyed. We rebuilt it.
Wow.
There was a new tenant below us. There was all kinds of things that factored into that.
Mm-hmm.
And they bought my store out. They bought out my lease 6 months before the pandemic hit. And
Wow.
again, grace of God, every other business around me went out of business during the pandemic
Mm-hmm.
because the whole place cleared out. It was offices.
Yeah.
And then we were stuck, when the pandemic hit up in New Hampshire, we had an opposite problem because we had everybody shut in their houses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had what I always do when I hit a problem that I don't know what to do with,
Mm-hmm.
my first thought is, who can I help?
Mm.
And that it has been a through line, again, of my life, of when you live in service and you truly live in service,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not just window dressing,
Right.
right? Good things always happen.
Mm.
Always. Every time, we almost lost the Hampstead in the 2008 market crisis,
Mm.
right? 30% of my customers lost their jobs. We had people coming into the store crying, saying they couldn't afford to come there anymore.
Wow.
I gave.
Mm.
I called up all the community service organizations again and said, let's figure this out together,
Mm.
right? Slowly, we came back. During the pandemic, we lost 80% of our business literally overnight.
Mm.
And I didn't lay anybody off. I made payroll every single week.
Mm.
I still don't know how I did most of it, right? But I said to my staff, we are going to give. This is what we need to do. And how do we give, and how do we make this happen? And what we ended up doing was I started an initiative called Fuel the Front Line.
Mm.
And what we did was we didn't even have online ordering then.
Nah, that's great.
We launched online ordering, and we gave our customers the opportunity to buy a bagged lunch for a healthcare worker for $10.
Mm.
And we turned it into, again, community service organization. My daughter, who is an amazing artist, drew this beautiful heart that said, "You are loved" on it.
Mm.
And every bag would include a little printout of that, along with a letter from my staff and I,
Yeah.
just telling them how much we appreciate them being on the front line. And we drove sandwiches, from north. To give you a little bit of a context, right? So our capital of Concord, New Hampshire, is about an hour north of me.
Mm-hmm.
So we were going north of Concord to south of Boston, which is an hour south. So
That's crazy.
we delivered over 2,000 lunches in a month.
Wow.
And the revenue from that, so we would give the lunches for free to the
Mm-hmm.
workers, and that was an amazing experience. That was a life-changing experience for me,
Mm,
to have these people coming out and, we were all masked up and had all the things on.
yeah.
That was life-changing, to see that, to see the level of dedication and sacrifice on that end.
Mm,
And then, on the community's end, up around us, I got to be the conduit for love
yeah.
and giving and sharing and caring and all those great things. So that was truly an amazing experience that we were able to save the business,
That's
through.
incredible.
So,
That's a great story. And like just the level of thought that went into it for you to quickly be able to flip that around and to, like you said, serve the
mhm,
community. And I love to hear stories that do acknowledge the fact that when we give and when we're serving, that God always takes care of us, always gives back.
yeah, it's automatic.
Yeah. And it is so often, I think it's overlooked in different areas of lives that people live, but it really is what it is. You know, you serve and you give to others and help to take care of them. That's life changing for them.
Mm,
You don't know the lives that were changed really. Sometimes you get to hear the stories, but not always, right? But it's life
mhm,
changing for you for sure. And you
absolutely.
in the process of giving. So that's an incredible story. And is it during this time that you met your current partner?
Yeah, so here I am running sandwiches everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
trying to do all these things, and, this woman in town is an acquaintance of mine and of Brad's, sent me a message on Facebook saying, like, "You gotta meet this guy named Brad." And my first thought was, "No, I don't. I don't know who Brad is. I don't wanna meet Brad. I don't have time for Brad. Like, this is no." And, Brad had again, you see how we align, right? Brad had started a company called Helping,
Mm,
micro social networks in office parks.
okay.
The way that it worked is if you let's say you needed a restaurant recommendation,
Hmm.
and put something on Helping, and I would say, "Hey, Suzanne, this is a great restaurant on there." I would get karma points
Okay.
that I could spend at local retailers. And they were in beta and they were crushing it. They were doing
Mm,
so amazing, like everything was working. And then office parks, they all went away,
right.
right?
Right.
So Brad was trying to pivot his startup to a community based,
Mm,
and I'm known as the community guy here, which was great. So this woman who was like, "Hey, you guys are a natural fit,"
mm.
and I avoided Brad for 3 weeks. And then I would get the message. Have you seen Brad yet? I'm like, I have not seen it. So the day that I just agreed to meet Brad to get this woman to stop telling me to meet Brad. And that morning, I said to my wife, she goes, "Oh, what are you doing today?" I'm like, "Well, I'm running sandwiches all over the place, but I'm meeting this guy named Brad." I'm like, "I'm giving this dude 15 minutes and then he's gone because I just don't have time." And I met him, and we quickly, I think within 10, 15 minutes, we realized that his thing wasn't going to merge with my thing, you
Right.
know? And we just started talking about other things that we
Mm,
were interested in. And what we landed on was, geez, like these kids coming out of high school without direction, throwing a dart at their educations,
right.
right? Spending sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars on their education,
Mm,
70% of them not using their degree when they get out, and then 60 to 80% of the workforce being dissatisfied.
mm-hmm.
And even now I look back and I'm like, wow, how did we went from like, hey, do you want to help me give out karma points, to like talking about this
Education.
problem,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, so later on that day, I came home and my wife said, "So how was your meeting with Brad?" And she said it just like, and I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna talk again. I think we might be onto something." And here we are, 5 years later.
So tell us a little bit about how you're developed this company with Brad and this organization that you have. And first question, do you still have the coffee house?
I still have the coffee house in Hampstead. I think that's
Good.
the I have managers and everything, so that's still going well. We're still doing right by the community, and it's such an integral part of my life now that
It's going to
I don't
stay.
think it's going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's
Good. So tell us a little bit more now about what you and Brad have built.
we create a company called Major Choice,
Mm-hmm.
and so what we do is we align students with their careers, right? So
Okay.
what we realized early on is that most career programs are a bucket of like, tell me your interests and tell me what you're passionate about, and we're gonna do some career exploration,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then we'll figure out what you're supposed to do. What we realized was that we are human beings with a lot of different varying levels to us,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what we need to do is we need to truly know ourselves first.
Right.
So what we developed was a 4 mission, we call them missions, 4 mission program. So mission 1 is self-exploration.
Mm-hmm.
And we go through many different levels, and it's all mentor supported, which is very, very unique.
Yeah.
Every student gets their own personal mentors
Mm-hmm.
and mentor. And their mentor, the vast majority of our mentors are credentialed educators, special educators. We help students with disabilities, autism, anxiety, OCD, depression. That's really where we're focused. We're focused a lot in that area now,
Yeah.
because when you build a ramp for one person, everything else,
Mm-hmm.
when you make sure that it's inclusive, everybody benefits.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we started. And yeah, so each student gets their own mentor. We do some deep self exploration through mission 1. We create what's called their career DNA,
Yeah.
which is a 25-point career needs fingerprint based off of everything that they learned about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
We take that career DNA and then we start matching jobs to it. And that's mission 2.
Okay.
And what's nice is now that they're looking at things that resonate. So we're fitting our students into careers we're fitting careers into our students versus our students into careers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the key, right?
Yeah.
So they do a lot of real world job exploration in mission 2. So they're doing, they're researching things. They're looking at real time job postings. So this
Mm-hmm.
isn't just research. It's actually living it,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
When they get down to their top 3, we bring that career DNA back out, and now they're going to go point by point, and they're going to say like, how does my career DNA match up to this career?
Okay.
Right? They pick 1 or 2 that really resonate, and by that time we have kids who are like can't sleep. They're because we take great care to make sure that they're not just doing what I did in college. They
Mm-hmm.
say like, well, my aunt is a nurse, and so maybe we have kids who come in and say like, I should probably do this because
Mm-hmm.
of this influence.
Right.
We take great care to make sure that they're getting the full breadth of options. Once they get down to that exciting 1 or 2 careers, what we do is we say, okay, well, you can only learn so much on the internet, right? You can only do so much through
Mm-hmm.
self-exploration. You really need to talk to people who are doing it. So we set them up with, we have a team that finds people at the pinnacle or doing things in that career that they're doing.
Right.
And we set up informational interviews.
Okay.
Now, the magic of mission 3 is that number 1, we're reverse engineering the interview process.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have kids who like, oh my God, a job interview, geez, well, my goodness, how am I going to do that? When they're done with this, after prepping it, we get to tell them, you just completed a job interview.
Right.
Only you directed it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what to expect from a job interview. So we've had amazing people show up. We've had over 500 professionals
Oh,
talk to
wow.
our students. We had some of note. We had a NASA jet propulsionist.
Oh, that's crazy.
We had Catherine Morris, who was the star of Cold Case.
Yeah.
Cold Case. We had the lead animator from Madagascar,
Mm.
or one of them. So we've also had librarians and postal workers and plumbers and electricians, and so
Yeah.
it really runs the gamut. Which we're very, very blessed to have 500 people show
That's
up
great.
for our students. So by the time once they figure out that career, they're gonna start looking into in mission 4. They're gonna start looking into what's my education and training path.
Mm.
Where do I go from here? And then every student will leave with a final report that we do transition plans in school,
Mm-hmm.
right? this is the platinum level transition plan.
Yeah.
And we're constantly told that this is far and above what anybody produces,
Mm.
because we're extracting so much amazing information from our students.
A lot
So
more
much.
thought.
And the students, just to give you the metrics on it, 92% of the students who start the program finish it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a 12 to 15 week program.
Okay.
And most, like I said, most of our students, or a good majority of our students, have a disability.
Mm.
So that is really a very proud statistic that we have, that we've created something interesting enough.
Yeah.
Because we are dealing with teenagers for the most part, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what age range of students is this geared towards?
Yeah, so it's 16 and up.
Okay. And is
we
it?
actually have adults taking it now too.
I'm sorry, what?
We actually have some adults taking it now
Okay.
too.
And I was going to ask, is it only for students with disabilities, or do you have?
No.
Okay, so it's not just for that purpose.
No, it isn't.
But what a great way for students to find career that really does. Because I think that so many students have a very limited knowledge of what opportunities there are for careers and jobs out there. Like, even coming out of high school, even in high school, I can remember going through class where we talked about what kind of personality type we were on that point, and what kind of careers that fit and all that kind of stuff. And I can remember looking at the list of careers myself and thinking, I don't even know what that is. Like, how do you do that? Like, so teacher, nurse, those kinds of things rise to the surface. And especially if you know somebody in those fields, So it is a different way of approaching it, that really, once you're equipped with knowledge, how much better you can do with making those decisions and finding something that people will actually enjoy and be good at, versus finding themselves in a place after all these years of college and money that they don't even. That's great.
You have to be excited about what you're doing.
Yeah, it's motivating to do that. It keeps you going.
It's motivating. And what we take great care to do is, I'm not going to tell a 16-year-old kid that they're going to be a microbiologist, because that's setting them up for a failure at some point.
Yeah.
Right. What I am going to say is, like, wow, you are really interested in being a microbiologist. You're on a science track. Like, you really need to explore this. So every time that a student comes out of the program, we give them next steps. So what are the 5 things you can do to get on this career path now?
Right.
That's motivating. A lot of times it's, I need to get my license. A lot of times it's, I need to figure out, like, I need to write a resume, or I need to volunteer someplace. And the key here is making things immediately actionable and accessible.
Yeah.
Because what we see out in the world is, these students are coming out of high school and programs, and they are like, well, okay, I'm 16 years old and I'm supposed to be a lawyer. Okay. Or I'm supposed to be, like, I'm a microbiologist. I use that all the time.
Yeah.
And they look at the path in front of them. It's like, okay, we can't paint mountaintops and leave kids at the bottom. We just can't. That is not right. So we light the path for sure.
How often do you find yourself equipping entrepreneurial minds versus career to be in?
It's not as prevalent. It's not as prevalent. When we do, it's really cool.
That's really cool. Yeah.
It's really cool because we can speak to it in volumes, right? But it's not as prevalent. We have a lot of the nice thing is, we have, by and large, a lot of the kids are really interested in service.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. It's heartening. It's heartening to hear.
That's interesting. Yeah. It doesn't surprise me, but it's interesting that you point that out. Well, I think that's an incredible approach to helping students find some success on the front end. I think that eventually, most of us that went through college and don't have anything to do with what we majored in at this point in our lives, I think it was a long way to get around it, and an
That, yeah.
expensive way to get around it. But I think that this is a great approach and the mindset. I love the missions that you put before them, and I think that it's a great roadmap for success, the way that you've designed this. So I appreciate you sharing your story, and I appreciate you sharing what your heart is invested in now as well. And I hope to hear more. I would love to maybe talk to some of these students at some point and hear
Yeah,
their
that'd
thoughts
be
about it. Yeah.
well, I have to add, so the was a wonderful occurrence for us. So we really started taking students in volume in 2023. So we're really
Hmm.
only 2 years into this.
Right.
Very quickly, we were accepted into the New Hampshire vocational rehabilitation
Mm,
system vendor. We are now their top program for what's called PREATS, so
that's
pre-employment
great.
training services in New Hampshire, and we are now approved for Step Up for Students
Hmm.
and the funding down for homeschoolers down in
In Florida.
Florida, and we're also just got accepted into Arizona.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
So people are quickly seeing the value of mentorship
Hmm.
and human to human connection. And
Yes.
when you combine that with a structure that works and you ask the right questions at the right time, in the right way
Hmm.
for who you're talking to, amazing, amazing things happen.
It's exciting. And, thinking about your option or opportunity to be on the other end of seeing that come together, it must be pretty exciting to
Oh,
see
it's
the
every
success.
day is
Yeah.
I mean, it is a startup, so there's challenges, right?
Hmm.
When you see, like, when we get to see kids who are as lit up as our students are coming out,
Right.
and I don't know if I sent you a video yet, but I'll send you a video.
Yeah.
When you get to see how lit up and how changed they are, they're
Mm.
not just, oh, I figured out I'm going to be, an accountant.
Yeah.
They are, wow, I didn't know I could do that.
I was going to say it's probably more than they thought they could do or things that they never thought of doing. I think that where I am now in my life and career versus where I started would be a place I would have told you back then that would never be something that I would do. It's like, no,
Isn't
I
it
don't see
amazing?
that happening. Yeah. And so, and I also wouldn't have thought it was an opportunity for any kind of a career. So, it's the things that you learn that give you pleasure and excitement for life and the future, and instead of fear of what's next, making that transition.
That is so well said.
Yeah.
That is so well
So,
said, and it dovetails exactly with what we see every day,
hmm.
and what we instill in our kids. I mean, one of the most said things in our course, there's a junction where we ask them questions.
Hmm.
And like, what did you learn from me? Because we ask them what their life experiences and whatnot. And one of the biggest things that is said in our course is, I'm smarter than I thought I was.
That's an incredible statement to have.
And how powerful is that at 16 or 17 years old?
Oh, yeah. That's incredible.
So
That's incredible. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you
thank
for
you.
sharing. I love it. Thanks for listening to the Not by the Book podcast from the Florida Parent Educators Association. To learn more about homeschooling in Florida or to find resources to help you on this amazing journey, visit our website at FPEA.com. If you have any suggestions for future guests, contact me, Suzanne, at notbythebook@fpea.com. Thanks again for listening, and be inspired to live your life not by the book.